parent, so I can be paying and still not see my kid?
If you only have an action of child support through child support services, you have no legal rights to your child. If you weren't married and there's no custody order, you will be obligated to pay, but will not be obligated to visit. I
Yeah.
come from experience with child support services, going pro se in court, representing myself. Thank God it turned out well for me, but that was my motivating factor. Like, I'll never be caught again with my pants down. The wife gets to make the decision for the husband, although they've been separated for 10 years and he got a whole girlfriend, but the girlfriend can't say what he really wants, and the wife who don't like him gets to decide.
Does it feel like everything is, you want to move left in America, you got to pay a lawyer to move left. You want to move right. It's like, God damn, like, why can't we just function as people? And we want to welcome Jephonne. Welcome to the Healthcare Henry Show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
But I appreciate you, though. I actually saw a clip of something that you did. Somebody sent it to me, right? I'll be
Okay.
honest. Somebody sent it, and I was like, okay, I like this. I like what she's talking about. And one of the things that we mostly do healthcare stuff and all things healthcare. So it could be, I started with hospice because that's what I do. And then we kind of gravitated towards the larger problem with healthcare across the board, right? So access to healthcare, health equity, things like that. And then we kind of got into some politics and stuff like that. But one of the things that I've always said, is that there is a huge correlation, in my opinion, between custody, divorce, and how that affects your health. And people always think like physical health, but I think about like mental health, the man, the woman, what it does to you. Does it take years off your life? I said, well, this would be interesting for someone like you, for one. For two, we were trying to start a podcast called Deadbeat Dads, and I have been advised not to do that. You're a
Okay.
lawyer, so maybe you can figure out why someone told me not to do that. And
Uh-huh.
I was like, well, it would be a great idea because if I could show people that, particularly in Georgia, right? A lot of this system is, to me, is how much money you got. If you're
Mm-hmm.
going in there and a woman is saying this, this, and this, but you can't afford an attorney to even back up what you're saying or put your stuff together for you or go in there for you, you kind of like at a loss. And a lot of my friends have kind of said the same things. They've kind of gone through these custody battles or these major divorces and stuff like that. And they're like, damn, if I didn't just have just a little bit of money saved up, I would have been wiped out trying to do this. And I'm
Right.
like, yeah, I can totally see that. I just went through it. So I'm like, what I spent just in a custody battle, I can't even imagine going through a divorce, right? I
Yeah.
was like, that might be an interesting conversation.
So most of the divorce, when it includes children, the big bulk of it is about custody, right?
Hmm.
And what I have learned over time is that most of it is African Americans fighting for custody. Caucasian people do not fight for custody the way that African Americans do.
Give me, what does that look like? What do you mean when you say that?
So if I have a white client, male or female,
Hmm.
9 times out 10 out of 10, I've settled every case, and custody was not the issue. The issue for them was splitting up assets. They've always basically agreed on what type of arrangement they wanted or they would agree to. It was never the custody that was at war, it was the money.
Why is it the custody is at war in your opinion?
In African Americans,
Yes.
we are prideful. No father who is a real father, no mother who is a real mother wants to be deemed unfit, although that's not the standard, or unworthy of having equal parenting time with their kid, especially when you have someone super involved. So it is really a pride and an ego thing from my perspective. That's what I think it is. Aside from each parent loving their child, wanting the best from their child, of course, that's a given when you have good parents, but I think it's ego and pride.
So when someone says they want 50-50 and then someone's fighting that, that's the ego of the person saying, well, hey, no, you don't deserve 50-50, or I don't want to give it to you. Like, what does that mean?
A lot of times, yes. Or so 50-50 is good when parents co-parent well and they are in close proximity. It works best for the kid, where the kid is basically, the parents are revolving around the kid. The pickup, everything is in a triangle,
Hmm.
and it's not far. But when one parent says, I want equal time, I want to carry my load physically. I want to have them for a week or every 2 weeks to 2 weeks, 1 week on, 1 week off, and the other parent is at a no, but for no viable reason, like, oh, that's a 70-mile commute, or that's a 65-minute commute in traffic, or they live too far, or the school that they want them to go to, I have a better one in my county or in my district. And so if there's not a valid reason from my perspective, then it is pride, ego, and sometimes financial. And I think deadbeat dads was shut down because it should be titled deadbeat parents, because they are deadbeats on both sides.
You know what? I don't think I've ever said this out loud, but she would be the perfect co-host for that. She would be, because now I'm telling you got one perspective, then you got the legal perspective, and then everyone's trying to figure out like how to navigate this. Georgia's not the only state that's ridiculous, right? There are other places that are, I don't know about as egregious, but they say Texas can get pretty bad too, right? So it's
Right.
like
Texas,
it could.
Virginia, all of the common law states are very mother friendly. And let me clear the record. Georgia is not one of those mother friendly states unless you are in the outskirts of Atlanta, right? Like the down south, maybe high north. But in metro Atlanta, mothers are not the end all be all. I have gotten lots of dads primary custody and child support.
Interesting, interesting. So now I'm even more inclined to see, right? For you've been doing this now, what is it, about how long? 10 years, 12 years? How long you been a
I'm in
lawyer?
my 12th year.
12th year as a lawyer. Congratulations, first off,
Thank
right? Second career. Thank you for your service in the military. I did see that as well.
Thank you.
So you are actually what I would consider like one of the few people who you go to the military, you do your time there, then you turn around and you say, "Hey, I want to do something different that involves going back to school." Right? That's where I'm like, you went back to school for 3 years. Was it John Marshall Law School? You go back to school for 3 years or so with kids, right? You had
Mhm,
kids, and now you're like, I'm
mhm.
gonna go do this. What prompted you to go out and make this type of adjustment in your life? Because to me, that's huge. That's debt. That's a whole lot of stuff.
Okay, so I've been military my entire life. It's all I knew. I was a military brat, so naturally, I gravitated toward the armed services because it was all I knew. Number one, number two, nobody in my family had ever gone to college. It was not a discussion that happened in my house ever. I was never
Mm,
encouraged by anyone to go to college. It was never the thing. It was join the military or get a job. Those were the options that were given to me. So then I joined the military. I loved it. Um, Except for the fact I'm a little rebellious. I like to do things my
okay.
way when I want to do them right. So I have a little
Okay.
rebellious streak in me, and the fact that I have someone yelling number one, and then telling me what to do number two. While I did well with it, as I got older, I was like, I do not want to live like this, right? The other thing I learned was I should have gone to college first. I could have went in as an officer, right? I could have went
Yep.
in at 22 having people salute me versus me doing the saluting as
Mm,
enlisted member. So for me, knowledge was power. I got out of the military because when I entered in 96, it was right around the time the Iraq war was kind of getting hot, and I just wanted no possibility of being told I got to go to war.
right.
So I got out and I made my move to Atlanta. I was leaving an abusive relationship, which is what pushed me away from North Carolina and brought me to Georgia. And I found out in Georgia and Atlanta specifically, you could get a job if you know how to interview well.
Mhm.
And so my
Yep.
first job, just out the gate, coming here, I probably made, this was in 2000, 2001. I was making like 42,000 a year. I was making more than my mom and my dad put together, essentially.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was mind blowing for me. So
Mhm.
from there, I just worked in corporate America. I worked in finance. I learned my way around. I had the gift of gab. I could interview well. Most of the time, I got the job offer day of the interview. And
Right.
then I wanted more. Went to my high school reunion in 2008, and I saw a friend of mine who had just graduated from Duke Law. And I was like, hmm, if she did it, I mean, surely I can do it. We came from the same place. You know, we went to high school in
Yeah.
Fayetteville, North Carolina. If she could do it, I could do it. She had a baby. She had one on the way, and she was married. My circumstances were a little different, but once it clicked in my head that it was possible, nothing was
Mhm.
going to stop me.
That's interesting because I'm one of the people that says representation matters so much, and everyone
Mhm.
always tries to push back to me and all these things, and I say, even when I look at things like the race for governor or president or whatever it is, I say, well, having a woman in some of these positions will help the kids that are coming up beyond, like, behind them. And that's
Hmm.
pretty much what you just said on your scale, right? Hey, I saw someone go to law school who I felt like I could do that. They came from the same area. And because of that, you now become one of what I'm going to say Atlanta's top lawyers as well.
Right.
Super interesting. So when I look at this, right? This is just for me. I'm 38, right? And I'm like, man, I want to go to law school. What do you
Hmm.
say to that person?
I say go. I
Really?
did. Yeah, I went when I was 32, right? So I'm telling my age. I went at 32. I had two kids and I was pregnant with twins. If that's something that you
Mm.
want, do it. And I have a friend right now. She is 47. She graduated law school last year because of me.
So that's even more representation. So now we're
Yeah.
seeing how this is full circle.
Yes. Yeah. So she went in her 40s, graduated last year because we became friends and she was inspired by my story. She was like, well, if you can do it, surely I can do it. Age is nothing but a number.
I feel like it's so time consuming. I always see people in law school, they're so stressed out. They're always reading. It's like, how do you do that and navigate, raising kids and things like that? And in your case, you were working as well.
Yeah, so I think the military had a lot to do with how I ran my house. I'm like a drill sergeant at home, so my kids have schedules. We have routines. I
Okay.
set aside a schedule to study, to read, but I'm also I went as an older adult in law school, and the people that you are referring to, in my opinion, are from college. They're straight from college, straight into law school. So they're partying. They're still trying to figure out schedules and life and really don't
Yeah.
have the responsibility. I feel like once you're older and you have some life experience and some responsibility, you're going to sit your butt down and do what you got to do, especially knowing how much money it takes.
Right. Right. And then having to pay it all back. Did the military help at all with that? When you go into the military, do they help you with continuing education?
They do. They have what is called, and it just slipped. Oh, they have benefits for college, either for the person who's serving or for their children. However, I did not serve long enough to get it, so it's called the GI Bill. That's what
Okay.
slipped my mind. Yeah.
Okay. But the military, in your opinion, did kind of create, well, you come from it, but idea in theory, it did kind of, or for most people, can create a sense of discipline and how to function through your daily life and get through certain things.
Yeah, I also think we're in a different era with people who are coming up now, the younger generation. I think we had what I would call a little more grit, a little more perseverance, a little
Sure.
more like fight in us.
Hmm.
And so I think that had a lot to do with it, along with the discipline of the military. And my family, my friends will tell you, if Jephonne says she's going to do it, you can bet your bottom dollar, take it to the bank and cash it. It's going to be done. I don't care what it is.
I like that. And for you, how do you choose which part of law you want to go into? What helped you gravitate? Was it a higher calling? What is it that you think made you go into this type of law?
Great question. And I knew going to law school, it would be family law. And the reason I
Okay.
knew that, because prior to law school, I've been married a gang of times. Okay.
Okay.
My testimony is
It's
one of great triumph, I would call it.
okay.
So before I became a lawyer, I was a corporate America person. I lived paycheck to paycheck, making decent money, but never had enough for
Yeah.
savings. So I was the one that ended up in court without a lawyer versus my ex-husband who had the money and the lawyer. Right.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
come from experience with child support services, experience with defects, experience with going pro se in court representing myself. Thank God it turned out well for me, but that was my motivating factor. Like, I'll never be caught again with my pants down.
Yeah. And so you did that more so for yourself or you wanted to help other people?
I wanted to help other people.
Yeah.
What I didn't know until years in this practice is how expensive, like family law cases cost. I never imagined
Woo!
coming into this field and the amount of money that people spend, um, and the amount that it costs. Now, some of the costs are excessive, in my opinion. You have
Mhm.
some law firms where 3 or 4 people touch your case. In my opinion, there's no need for a legal assistant, a paralegal, a case manager, and then the lawyer to touch the same thing, right? I shouldn't have 4 touches on something, but that's my opinion. A lot of big law firms run that way because that's how they make their money. I'm a true solo. I have one paralegal. I use her for mainly discovery because that is my nemesis. But outside of that, I touch all my cases myself, and I'm very reasonable with my prices because I bill what I think is fair, and I don't bill everything.
When I look at or when I hear that more so, it makes me think a couple of things. One, who's actually being taken advantage of, right? Is that everybody? We talk about representation, and I look at lawyers the same way I view the healthcare profession, right? I
Hmm.
go to certain type of doctors because I feel like they understand me. Do you feel like law has some similarities there as well?
I think my experience has been people like personal referrals. So if they
Mhm.
have someone who went through a lawyer and they had a good experience, they typically like to go with a personal referral, right? But I am of the mind that just like all doctors are not created equal, neither are
Mhm.
lawyers. And lawyers that may have done a good job for this friend or that friend may not necessarily do a good job for you because your facts may not warrant a good job.
Got you. Got you. I want to switch topics just a little bit because for me, I really want to get into some of your experiences, particularly after doing it for over a decade. One of the things that we're seeing right now, or the study has shown that we have more black males now committing suicide than pretty much ever before, at a rate that's higher than almost any other ethnicity in the country for a specific race and gender right now. One of the things that I've always said, and I say this as knowing someone who personally took their lives over something similar, the conflict, the anxiety, the depression that comes from custody battles and divorces and things like that. And we are talking about if you were the breadwinner or you split everything 50-50, and then you lose everything and have to start over. Have you been seeing any of that in your practice or people that you've worked with?
I have. I actually had a client whose son was coming up on 18. His parents had been married almost 30 years and they were going through a divorce, and he took his life. That was very shaking for him, his family, myself, just because it was my first time in a case that something like that happened. Subsequent to that, I've had several people either, like my nephew, one of his friends committed suicide a year and a half
Mm,
ago. And that was heart wrenching to watch him go through that because that was one of his best friends. I just think the things that we were disciplined or told wasn't a thing, kind of like mental health, anxiety, and
yep,
depression, right? Growing up, you
yep.
dry them tears up. You ain't allowed to cry. You're not allowed to have emotions. I think the freedom
Mhm.
that they have now to actually have emotions and explore those feelings also is the gateway for the depression and the anxiety to go unchecked.
You know what people are going to say though, right?
Yeah.
That's the military talking. That's what they're going to tell you.
And you know what? I can neither affirm or deny that, right? Because my kids, like, to me, I'm like, feelings, you're 8. You don't have any feelings. You don't even know what feelings are in real, like, go sit down. But I also think society gives our children at a much younger age inappropriate language to describe what they're going through, right? So, for example, I have an
Mhm.
8-year old, and when she was around 6, she had said something like, I'm anxious, or I
Yeah.
feel like I might be depressed. And I'm like, no, that's something
No
that's
way.
being said at
Yeah.
school or at date, right? They're giving them language to things
Mhm.
that don't actually exist, or
Yep.
that they are not defining for them, right? And so that was very alarming. And I had to do some course correction because what you're not going to do over here at 6 is talking about you having anxiety and depression. Like, girl,
Mhm. Yeah. 'Cause you know what what like you said, what can come next from that can be
yes.
terminal,
And
right? So
I'm
yeah.
not saying that young children that there are not young children that have mental health issues. That's not, I have no other signs or symptoms of mental health issues with my daughter that I'm referring to. I just knew
Mm.
I had to check it at the door because that was inappropriate. And can
How
you
do
hear
you
that? I'm
yeah.
sorry.
You're fine.
Okay.
No,
I have
well,
the day I had a leak in my roof, I just
it's fine. They won't no one will know. Yeah, no one will
okay.
hear it. Yeah, it'll be fine. How do you counsel your clients through these types of situations, right? Particularly, we're talking about depression, anxiety, and from what I've seen, or guys have told me, they've lost everything going through divorces, right? Or trying to make sure their wives or their kids were good. How do you counsel them through that so that we don't have more of these types of situations?
So I think that is a part of my higher calling. I think I was particularly crafted to be a family law attorney during this time because I do have to counsel a lot of my clients. And kind of
Hmm.
walk them through the difference between me and other attorneys, in my opinion, is at the consultation. So up front, I'm going to tell you what your roadmap looks like and the likely outcome based on my experience, the county that we're in, and the judge that we have, because people rarely shift from what they normally do because it requires work, right? So if I
Hmm.
know that, I have, and I'm just going to use a different example because I feel like your audience may be more biased toward how you feel. So I'm going to shift to a woman who I represented, who was the breadwinner, who had
Okay.
to give up $1 million in assets of her assets because
Sure.
while the husband did work and make decent money, he also did not save. He didn't have retirement. So most of her assets were eaten. And that was a long, hard day for us because she also felt like taken advantage of. And she felt like he's supposed to be a man, which,
Wow.
I don't agree with that sentiment. I do think that, you know, and I told her, I said, what the courts can't do? They can't fix 15 years of you letting somebody ride your coattail. And that goes both ways. That can't be fixed. So if you allow your husband or your wife to stay at home, don't work a job or get a job, quit a job, not really build assets, that means that you guys are not on the same page financially, which means you allow this to happen. And the excuse that I get, or the reasoning that I get, is because, oh, I want my family to work. I want my kids to have a two-parent home. All right, so that's the,
Hmm.
that's the good for the bad that you're trading, right? You risk, you assessed your risk, and you said, I would rather my family be intact than to get divorced or separate, to basically prove a point and say, hey, I'm not going to be the only one working in this marriage.
Do you ever follow up with some of these clients? I'd be interested to see what the kids are saying after some of this, right? They say, hey, I did all these things to stay together, but the kids saw it as like, well, I wouldn't want to be in any type of marriage if that's what it looks like anyway.
I have the perfect example. I had
Okay.
this lady, and she was in her 80s. She came to me to divorce her husband. They had been married over 60 years.
I'm not going to even add, well, I got it at 80. Why? Like, what's the point?
I'm gonna tell you. So she
Okay.
said, first, I want you to write him a letter because
Okay.
he thinks I'm playing with him, and I want to send him. She basically was trying to scare him into get some act right. Right? He was
Oh,
acting up.
God. Okay.
Whatever acting up was. She never really went into details. I never had to
Hmm.
file her case because the letter did kind of bring him back around to his sound mind, as she said. But at the conclusion, she brought her children up. And they were like in their 40s and 50s. And I said, what is one thing that you wish your parents would have done different? And they said divorce a long time ago.
Mm,
Because
interesting.
the tension of, I know parents, we think we cover it well, but the tension in a
Yeah.
house of parents who are not getting along, kids can feel that. They can sense it. They may never say anything. Their behavior may never change, but they absolutely know there's tension.
Yeah.
And those grown 40, 50-year adults said, I wish they would have just left each other alone a long time ago.
Yeah. I can believe that too. I grew up, my mother was married a couple times as well. And it was never really a tension thing. It was just, and it's maybe something that you can speak to. She just only, like you said, about being on a level playing field. I feel like
Hmm.
my mother only married for love, right?
Okay.
And love
Okay.
only goes so far. Where it's
Okay.
like, okay, at some point you got to be like, well, damn, what are you actually going to contribute? Because love
Uh,
just ain't enough,
you
right?
are walking into quicksand, buddy.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm one of those people where it's like, I believe that people should tell their truth. I wrote a whole book about my life for the most part. I don't care as much as you might think, right?
Right. Right.
And it doesn't. There's a part of me that says the more that you talk out loud, the more that you will find there are a million people who have experienced the same thing, and now they can say it out loud too, and everyone's more comfortable about it. And I'm
Right.
okay with that. I'm okay
Okay.
with that.
That's
But
fair.
that's
I'm
been
the
it's
same
interesting.
way. I'm very transparent. People ask me, "Am I ashamed?" And I just
Oh,
am
please.
not. I'm not shameful at all. I don't have a shameful bone in my body. I never have, and I probably never will. But I think your mom married for love. I too married for love in the beginning, right? And then I married
Mhm.
for love and right, love and compatibility, love and you working, love and you got, you know what I'm saying? So it's love and I think it's a good combination that's gonna work.
Yeah. I'm with you 100%. I'm with you 100%. One of the things that I look at, particularly in your field, I'm in hospice, but you're in law, and you have to, in my opinion, and just let me know, you take on a lot of what you're dealing with, right? How do you take care of yourself, your mental, when you go home? Like you said, you had someone commit suicide, right? You know someone, or you were part of a case where someone committed suicide. How do you go home and be okay and still show up for your own family? Like, what are the things that you do to take care of yourself?
So I practice gratitude. Like I'm very grateful. I'm also a firm believer. Like I am strong in my faith, and I believe that all things work together for the good for all believers. And so I kind of rest in my faith, and I rest in the fact that I'm grateful for the things that I do have. I kind of don't take a look at the things that I don't have. And when my cases get really heavy, I just step away for a week or two. I kind of take some time for
Mhm.
myself. I'm an avid reader, so I love a good book. I love a vacation, so I'll skirt away real quick and just kind of reset. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, lawyers that burn out, right? They take on the lives of their clients
Mhm.
and their
Yep.
emotions and their feelings, and I don't do that. And I have to tell some opposing counsel sometimes, like, hey, this is not your this is not your life. Like
Yeah.
you're coming at me aggressively with an attitude, like out the gate, no introduction.
Yeah.
We've never had
Yeah.
any problems, and you really feeling like your client to me. I need you to, back down and be the professional, right?
Yeah.
So
So when I look at that, or when I hear that anyway, I'm the first thing I think of is like they're taking it personal. That ego, that's probably some ego there, right? Like they're saying, "Hey,
mhm,
I want to beat you." And I'm
mhm.
wondering too, like, do they talk to men like that, or are they just talking to you like that?
Well, they're just talking to anybody like that. And the only
Okay.
reason I think it's not about the sexes most of the time for me is because most people by my name think I'm a man. So I get,
Okay.
hey, sir, good morning, sir. Um, I get all the sirs. It's like,
Okay.
I don't know. And I say this with a smidget of truth. Men are a little slow, right? And so I got a whole
Oh
picture.
God, no.
I got a whole picture signature in my email that clearly demonstrates I'm a woman, and they still be like, "Hey, sir." I mean, y'all a little special.
I would agree with that, honestly. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
I
like
can see that. Generally speaking, I can see that.
yeah.
Generally speaking, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, they gonna crucify you for that, but that's all right. I
That's
can I
fine.
can see it.
Listen, I can take it because it's like most men know that y'all a little slow, right?
Yeah,
It's
I
and
would
it's
agree.
it's not even you. It's like genetics. Okay, I have twins. Okay, I have 14-year-old twins. One boy, one girl. Same
Uh-huh.
womb, 1 minute apart. Like
Okay.
the level of disparity in things
Oh
that I have
God.
tested in them from male to female is mind blowing.
We catch up though, right? Like it's just for a
Oh, so
while.
it's not intellectual though, right? So it's
Uh,
it's it's it has to be a different part of the brain. It's like one test in particular. I'm looking at something on the floor. I'm pointing at it, and I tell my daughter to go pick it up. She go picks it
mhm,
up right away. I
mhm.
tell my son this. I give him the same direction, same look, same point. He up in the ceiling. I said, "What in the tarnation is going on?" He up in the ceiling, bro. I couldn't believe it. So I ran it back. I did the same test, different object, different location. Go get that. My daughter right away. My son, I said, well, so this is what's really going on, and why these marriages I had did not work.
I mean, I I hear that. I say, yeah, I think boys. What is it that they say that they want that you need to marry some women need to marry someone a little older than them because of this very reason? We
My
mature
husband
later.
could
All
have an
these.
old
All,
man right now. Got
uh,
got got to
did,
have an older man.
did you say old man or
I
older?
do.
I
I
thought
said old. He both.
you
He's
said
old and older.
okay, okay, and that's better for younger women. I'm assuming
That's better for me. I can't
better for
speak
you.
for nobody else. It's better for me just because, like, I'm 47. Okay,
That's
he
young.
about to
That's
get
young.
Social Security, right? And
Oh
so we're on
God.
the same level.
No. So you decided to catch him when he can get Medicare a little early. So now you're gonna get a
Correct.
little bit of okay,
Correct.
okay. I'm
Now
not mad at that.
it doesn't hurt that my husband at his late great age happens to be fine as wine, so we all good there. But he had to be older.
I'm not mad. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that. When having or being married, having someone older, does that also help with your job? So we're talking about going home and finding this stabilization between work is chaotic and taking on whether you're an empath or not, you're taking on a lot of things. Does he kind of help guide you through that at home through maybe being a little more gently with you or something like that?
No, my man is a man's man, and he is an old school man. He believes
Mhm.
as a husband, he is a provider and a protector. End of story. And I knew that marrying him, just like I knew what my role would be in the household, I knew I would basically be like the primary caretaker in all things, all of the domestic duties. But because he works the way he works and he can provide the way he provides, it gives me a lot of leverage to run my practice the way that I do, which is with a lot of flexibility, a lot of free time to do things with kids, to vacations, to
Mhm.
show up with friends, to do things with my church and be committed to other things other than just my first 5 years in practice, I was running a caseload that would have broke most people down.
Yeah.
I was working for someone. I was trying to get a partner, got the partnership. That ended up not working out. And it was the biggest blessing I never asked for to have a solo practice at this juncture.
Mm.
The way that he works and provides allows me to be particular about how often I work, what cases I take, and how I do it.
You talk about doing or having more time. So that's more volunteer work and different things, working with your church. One of the things that I do want to ask, because I talk a lot about health equity or access to quality healthcare. Are there some spaces in Atlanta where you see, hey, there is a lack of access to great legal counsel that you feel like we should be closing the gap on as well?
Oh, that's a great question. And I think that there is, right? So there are not a lot of people that can pay a retainer, right? And so
I get it.
there are not a lot of people that can
Mhm.
pay a retainer, right? But then the people being taken advantage of is where they can afford a small retainer at a big firm, not realizing that that small retainer is going to run out in 2 weeks and they have to keep refreshing, right? So the
Yep.
intro
Yep.
price
Yep.
sounds good. They
Yep.
jump on the intro price, and no one really explains to them that this is going to be repetitive. And so by the time they realize that they've spent $10,000 and the only thing that's happened in their case is discovery, now they're broke, their credit cards are maxed out, they don't have anything else to give. And then their case
Mm.
is dropped right in the middle without any further representation because they have no more money.
How can we
Versus,
fix that problem?
I think lawyers, law firms have to be upfront, right? Everybody that I consult with, I tell them your initial retainer is this, but you are probably looking at this as a final number, and I'm giving a good
Yeah.
estimation just based on county, judge,
Mhm.
and issues at play. And I don't think that conversation is had enough.
Do you think that's on purpose?
Yes.
I am in awe of your transparency. I don't think I've ever seen it before in a lawyer, ever, attorney, ever in my life. It's like, okay, I ask the questions just to see what people will say, but when they are straight up and say, "Oh, absolutely," I'm like, okay, that's a different type of response. I can imagine that your clients are getting probably the most transparent version of you. And this is something that I think most people really need to take a look at and really seek out because as someone, we've all gone through some type of legal affair in our lives. At some point, we've paid for
Mhm.
something.
Right.
And to your point, out of the retainers, there was one time where a lawyer in her firm, she did say, "This is about what you're going to be looking at," and it actually ended up being a little bit more than what I ended up paying. She gave me money back, which is I thought was I would never expect that. But is that something that you've also had to do? You say, "Hey, someone's paid X amount, you didn't have to use all that. Do you get money back, or how does that work?"
Yes, absolutely. My initial retainers, there is a portion of that that is non-refundable because I'm
Sure.
forever conflicted out from representing anyone against you, essentially. So a portion of it is earned upon receipt. The rest is if I don't use it, you get it back.
Okay.
And that's just
Okay.
a policy. I've always had that policy. Um, Most law firms have that policy in their contract,
Mm.
except that they make it their business not to have any left.
So they just because if we're being honest, they could just send you whatever. Hey, we built this because we did this, and you don't even know what they did. You don't even know if it took that long to actually do it. So what
Correct.
you need to do is build an app to keep these people accountable. That's what you need to do. And I'm more than happy to help you build it. Wink, wink. I'm more than happy. You know, I can probably get that built in a couple weeks max, right? So you let me know.
You can take the lead. I'll
I'm
co-chair.
I'm all for it because I'm tired of some of this stuff. One of the things that people ask me a lot of the times is about this guardian ad litem, and
Woo.
I don't really understand it. I don't think anyone really understands it. Can you help us understand what it is, what's the need for it, and what exactly are they doing?
Okay, so there are several types of guardian ad litems. You have
Okay.
guardian ad litems who are court appointed that people do not pay for in juvenile court, right? Juvenile court is not my forte, but I've had some experiences there. I've used some guardian ad litems there for the purpose of it not costing money to my client. That's number
Okay.
one.
Okay.
Where I practice mainly is superior court. And so, superior court, we use a guardian ad litem when there is a custody dispute. And the guardian ad litem, most of the time, is a lawyer, but acting in a different capacity as a guardian. The advocate for the child is who they are supposed to be. And so what they do in the superior court realm is they interview the parents. They take a name of list of witnesses you might want them to talk to, doctors, dentists, coaches, anybody you want them to basically interview related to the custody matter. Depending on the age of the children will be interviewed by the guardian ad litem too, and they will be
Interesting.
able to give input. I find it not as valuable with younger kids, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I find it more valuable with kids at 10 and above because they can
Okay.
really speak their mind if they're free to do so, and they kind of take them away from the parents and interview them at both homes if the parents have already separated physically, and so they are basically a court appointed advocate for the child, but in superior court the parties have to pay for them.
I got you. And so that could be how much roughly?
So most guardian ad litems, their retainers start at 25 to 3,500, but they
Mhm.
bill just like lawyers bill. They bill in 6 or 8 minute increments. All the work that they do on the case, if they're interviewing, if they have to drive to someone's home, like it's kind of like a billing system, just like lawyers, except it's the guardian. And a lot of the guardians' hourly rates are less expensive than a lawyer's hourly rate. Not
Yeah, but if
all,
they
but some.
drive time and all that, it could add up pretty quick.
Very quickly. Very
So
quickly.
realistically, a custody case, how much could it cost or should it cost? And I'm gonna just flat out say for people who want to fight over custody.
People who want to. So I have two types of fight. You want to
Okay.
fight. You want to state your case. You want me to present evidence. Um, no guardian ad litem, right? And let's say I think you have a good case for 50-50 because you're in close proximity. You bonded with your child. Well, you have a real relationship. You're probably looking at. And I'm going to give one of the better counties, in my opinion, which is Gwinnett County. They're efficient. You can get in pretty quick. They kind of keep their cases on a roll, so it's never a stall in their cases. You're probably
Mm.
looking at 10 to 15,000 with me.
Most people don't have that. So what are they supposed to do?
That's a great question.
No, I mean realistically, right? If I'm a dad and I've because then you get into the part that people don't even realize. I'm from Chicago. You have a kid in Georgia. This ain't even your kid if y'all ain't married, right? And we
Correct.
don't care if you sign a birth certificate. And then also, for that, can you really explain to people what they have to do? Because I don't think they get it until they have to pay $20,000 to figure it out.
Yeah, so prior to 2007, signing a birth certificate in Georgia meant that you were considered the legal father, right?
Okay.
After 2007, signing the birth certificate just means you're on the birth certificate. Now, neither instance meant custody or a parenting schedule, because there's no way you can get that from just signing the birth certificate.
Sure.
So, you know, outside of that, you still have to file a legitimation in the superior court of either the county where the mother is with the child, or if the child is living with you, in the county where you live with the child. So always want to follow the child. And the legitimation is basically saying, I want to legitimate my child. I don't want my child to be considered illegitimate. I want to be recognized as the legal father. I want custody, and I want a parenting schedule, and child support will go along with that, whether it was pled for or not. It is a mandate that anytime custody is established for a child support also has to be established. In some cases, if child support is already established through child support enforcement, the legitimation, custody, and parenting plan can be in action by itself without the consideration of child support.
Well, wait a minute. So I can be paying and still not see my kid?
Yeah, if you only have an action of child support through child support services, you have no legal rights to your child. If you weren't married and there's no custody order, you will be obligated to pay, but will not be obligated to visit or have a court order for visitation.
Now, obligated is different than someone who actually wants to. Obligated is a very different phrase. So what if someone actually wants to versus being obligated to?
So I tell people all the time, child support is an obligation. Visitation or parenting time with a non-custodial parent is a luxury, because the flip side of this is, let's say you have a parenting order, like a parenting plan order is what we call it, and um, it gives mom every first, third, and fifth weekend, alternating holidays and all that, and mom never exercises that visitation. You
Mhm.
cannot then go and say, I want to hold her in contempt for
Because
not
she didn't
doing
have
this.
to.
She doesn't have to. It's a luxury. It's not an obligation. But that same contempt that says, hey, she's not paying the child support she was ordered to pay, that's an obligation. Therefore, there can be sanctions and incarceration behind it.
And does that actually happen, right? People actually go to jail for this stuff?
Absolutely.
Not child support, like actually seeing the person, seeing the child, taking care of the
Oh,
child, not sending them to school.
what do you mean?
Like if you have a parenting plan in place and if you don't let the person see the kid or anything like that, can you be held
Oh, you're
accountable
going to
for that
jail.
as well? Oh,
Yeah, you're
you're
going
going,
to jail. Yeah.
yeah, with a straight face, you're going to jail.
Yeah, you're going to jail. Now, granted, there are some judges who are a lot more lenient, and they like, hey, you got to do the parenting, like they give them a warning, right? But let's say it happens again. Um, Most of the judges that are on the bench now, if you're not following their court order, you're going to jail. Like, to the point where there was one judge, he's now retired in Newton County, and we were in the courtroom, and he looked at this lady. He said, listen, you can either meet with their attorney and come to an agreement, or you can kiss the rest of your day and the next 20 days goodbye, because you're going to jail. You cannot withhold a child with a court order from the other parent.
What if you could think of one thing from what you've seen?
Hmm.
How detrimental is this type of behavior to the child on their development, mentally, emotionally? What does that look like long term?
So I think it depends on the parent's mental health, the parent's stability, the one that's even the parent that's doing the withholding. And I
Hmm.
know this from personal experience, right? So my bonus son was basically kidnapped by his mother um, in 2017, and
Kidnapped.
kidnapped, um, arrested, brought back to Georgia from the state that she was found in after we had to hire a private investigator. Um, she was gone for a year with him, right? But I
Mm.
think whatever went on for that year affected him to his detriment, because That was the year he was supposed to start kindergarten. That was the year, you know, like he was coming into his elementary days. And
Hmm.
so now, although he has recovered for the most part, there are still things that I think are a reaction or a delay of what he went through during that year. During that year, he thought his dad was dead. During that
How old
year,
was he? How old was he?
he was 5 at the time.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, you know, now just let's just say we have parents who have a fairly normal mental capacity and they're just withholding the child because they're angry at the other parent, but they're still a good parent. I don't know that the effect would be the same versus a parent who's not really being a good parent, or parents that try to
Yeah.
alienate kids from the other parent, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
How long does that take? Could this, let's say a child didn't see his dad, he's been seeing him or whatever for 3 months, 4 months. How bad could that be on the development of the child? Does it take a year? Or is this just, if you just disturb their daily thing, it could get bad quickly?
Um, Again, I think it's environment. What's going on
Okay.
at the home where he's
Yeah.
being kept primarily, if he's not being allowed to see dad. And then, you know, on the flip side of things, there are some parents, male or female, mom or dad alike, who, you know, I have had to advocate for them not to have any parenting time because of their own mental health instability, their own
Yeah.
actions, who, you know, that brought them. It was so toxic for the kid that it was best the kid did not have a relationship through a court order with this parent.
How often
And
does that
that
get pushed through?
I've had it happen once.
Where the judge actually says, I agree with you. This just ain't you, your child's better not knowing who you are.
Not no visitation, no court order visitation, right? So they didn't terminate any rights, but they weren't going to force the child to visit with the other parent.
Interesting. So now we see, including your case that you just spoke about, which is to me insane because I'm assuming she knew what you did for a living, right? Just
Hmm.
this, she was just like, the hell with it. I'm just gonna do whatever I want
Hmm.
to do.
Yeah, she finna stunt.
People are literally crazy. Like,
No, for real.
men,
No,
women,
okay,
boys.
okay. So little, like we already had defects like 5 or 6 times at our house. At this point, they like, Miss Roy, we just gonna come in, you know, turn your water on, open the refrigerator. You know, the first time it was serious, like we want to talk to all your kids and you know all that. But
Yeah,
after
yeah,
they
yeah.
saw that it was a pattern of nothing, it became nothing. And then it was the sheriff coming out. You got allegations of child abuse, like physical child abuse. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's insane. So now you have what I would consider to be a functional blended family. Like, how does that, in your opinion, how has that helped your kids, his kids, and what does it look like with their development? Seeing what I'm going to say, true love, based on how you speak about your husband to us so far.
I think it. So this is the healthiest marriage I've ever been in, right? It's the longest marriage I've ever
Congratulations.
been in. We've been married 11 years this year, and
Mm,
so
congratulations.
all of my kids. He adopted my oldest daughter, so she's 24, but she was adopted when she was 15, and all the rest of them behind her, including the child that we share, they're like a real close knit sibling with the rivalries, the arguing, the fighting, the love, the you know,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
see, like go send the baby and see if she can get us Chick-fil-A because mommy she'll say yes to her for anything. You know, the camaraderie that they have is real, and I think it has helped their development. Um, so much.
I like that. One of the things that has come up with some families of ours, some hospice families, and we've seen, because we send social workers out. And one of the things that we've noticed a lot of is when people are going through these types of battles or court cases or custody cases, the health insurance gap can kind of become a problem for a lot of these kids. What is the court doing, or what is the states doing? What are they doing to kind of help make this better for a lot of these families?
So that's a hard space, and then I want to ask you a question about that too because I'm interested.
Sure.
But so most of the time, whoever is the payor of child support is supposed to carry the insurance. Sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes the payor is a contractor. They're a 1099. They have a job where the benefits may be too expensive, or they don't have options to have health benefit. Well, then the court say, hey, we'll jump on the marketplace. And then the marketplace is too expensive, or there's no good
Yeah.
viable
Yeah.
options. And kids fall through the cracks, right?
Hmm.
If one parent doesn't qualify for Medicaid to kind of pick up the slack or
Yeah.
have other health insurance, they just are without health insurance.
Mm. Yeah. So what are they going to do to fix it? Because it seems to me that even without Medicaid expansion, if a child needs it for whatever reason, we should
Mhm.
be able to facilitate that for the child, regardless of the income of the parents or anything.
Yeah, I think, and I don't know this from like a state political standpoint. My response is going to be my opinion. I
Sure.
think the state expects parents to take that role up and to make sure their kids have health insurance. I don't feel like they believe that it's a state issue more so than a mother father issue.
Got you. Okay. So if the child has no health insurance and something drastic happens to the child, that's just the parents'
That,
fault. That's their problem.
that's my uneducated opinion about it because I don't get into those types of politics. As far as healthcare is concerned, I don't know what their stance is. This is just me speaking
Yeah.
based on what I've seen and how parents have had to go without health insurance for their children.
Okay. You said you had a question for me. I'm interested.
Yeah, so in hospice, right? That's
Yeah.
a hard space in and of itself.
Hmm.
Are you in a place or do you handle any of the legal paperwork that comes with that? Like in Georgia, there's a healthcare directive. Do people try to whip out wills and last testaments? Like what realm of hospice do you work in, and does the legal factors come into play?
It's huge, right? So we don't do it, right? That's one of the things that we don't personally do. We always tell them, hey, you need to go, you can consult an attorney or things like that, advanced directives and things like that. A lot of those wheels, though, you'd be surprised. Most people don't have them.
I know.
Um, when I say most people, I want to make sure I'm giving you an accurate number. We cover from South Atlanta as far south as Palmetto, Peachtree City, Sonoya,
Hmm.
as far west as like Douglasville, east is Lithonia, north is Alpharetta, right? So we're all over.
Hmm.
And I don't think people realize it doesn't really matter a lot of times how much money you have.
Hmm.
It's a matter of people are unwilling to have death conversations and anything tied to that. So wills, advanced directives. So we get them. I'll give you a perfect example. You've got a mother who has maybe even divorced, because that's the huge one when they get divorced, or if they just found out they had dementia. So now they can't really change anything, right? They're stuck. And they always come to us and we say, well, what do we do? What do we do? Can we need to get her signed up? And we have to tell them, not only can we not sign her up, nobody can do anything because you all don't have anything in place to say who's responsible for signing her up for something. If she went to the hospital right now, you'd have a problem if she was on life support. You all would be struggling. Everybody be scrambling to figure out who's going to do what. And it's unfortunate that it has to get to that moment for people to actually do it, but that's what we see a lot of, right? It's gotten better, but honestly, I think it's gotten better. I think a lot of people are going online and they have these get a wheel for $99 programs, and
Hmm.
they're at least doing that. Which honestly, if it's notarized, it's better than nothing. It's
Right.
not perfect, but
Right.
it is better than nothing. So we see a lot of, I see a lot of that. If any law firm had like a template, if they would, that they sold for $100 that you signed off on, that was, thought
Hmm.
was fair, it would probably do very well. But that's the bulk of what we see. Now, I'll also say this because you asked something that's been interesting to me. A lot of the more established lineage or families have everything tied up in a trust. So how they function is very different than the average everyday family. So like I'm seeing families with 3, $4 million homes on Medicaid. And so some of the when you're talking about politics, some of the things
Hmm.
that people are unwilling to talk about, and I'm not a politician. I only talk to them occasionally, right? And it's like I don't know if we're really taking a look at some of that stuff when you're talking about exploiting or misusing of funds. I would probably
Or
start
of
placing.
legal paths, right? Because
Yeah,
trust. are not accessible to a lot of people. They cost money, number one, and then
To
you have to
manage and yep.
actually have assets to put into it, and then you have to have a trust. Like, so it's not just accessible like a will is. Fairly simple, right? And people use trust to basically insulate themselves,
Yeah.
their assets, and then get state benefits. So,
I see that a lot more often than people think. And because it's legal, right? That's kind of where I it's one of those things where if I were a politician, I'd take a look at that. I'm not. If I were, I'd take a look at that because then I have an understanding of if I'm the middle class and you're telling me I don't qualify for Medicaid, but they do because they happen to have enough money to put their assets in a trust, I have a problem with that. And I understand that wholeheartedly. So I see
mhm,
a lot of, I guess it's okay to say that, right? And I see a lot of that.
okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I see a lot of that, but hospice has changed. One
Okay.
of the things when I look at hospice, particularly with, and we're talking about blended families or people who kind of put their families together, that's also a space where people, because it's not on paper, we talk about being an actual legal father of someone, right? Going through that
Mhm,
process, and
mhm,
then people not getting married. That's also a problem we see in hospice, right?
mhm,
I see a gentleman says, I want to sign up with Precious Hospice. Fantastic. But he maybe has dementia. He can't sign it. He said, well, call my wife. We call this wife. This ain't the wife.
mm,
You can't sign him up, man. You can't. Like, where's his
yeah,
actual, like, where's his wife? Where are his kids? And so they're like, we don't want to talk to her. And they said, we got to tell her, well, we can't even do anything. They
right.
won't even accept them in a nursing home because there's no one to sign for it. So, like, it's a whole problem where it's like, we really got to, as best people like you who can teach people, like, this is why you need to go get legitimized for children.
Mhm,
This is why people need to get married, right? Like,
mhm.
there's a
If you're
real
gonna be
reason.
together for 15 years, like, get married. You're losing all kind of benefits and
Yeah.
rights. And like, even with me, I have two adult children. I have a healthcare directive for both of them because if something were
Hmm.
to happen to them,
Hmm.
um, because they're unmarried, I wouldn't have a say per se just because I'm their mom. They're adults, right? I would have to go through the whole rigmarole of going to court, being appointed their guardian, when I could just have the healthcare directive and that tells them I'm the person to make decisions for them.
Now, that's something you do.
I do.
So that's interesting. Well, that's what we need to know because that is interesting to know. My question to you though is how long does that normally take, right? So because we have kids in hospice, I'm just gonna tell
Hmm.
you. So
Hmm.
of all ages. So I'm wondering how long would it take to get that pushed through, particularly like, things happen. If you have a kid on a ventilator or something like that, like how long would it take the course to get back to? Is that something you can call an emergency in for?
So a healthcare directive is the preventative measure of having to go through court.
Okay.
It basically tells your provider who you designate as
Mhm.
the shot caller.
So, but if something happens and you don't have one in place, you can't do it quickly.
No.
Oh,
Mm-mm.
okay. Is it easy to change?
Yes.
Does it go away if your daughters get married?
It it doesn't go away. They would have to make a new one, making their husband their healthcare directive.
I gotta ask you this, and I hope no one's upset with me about for asking this. But doesn't it kind of feel like some of this is just like pay a lawyer, pay a lawyer, pay a lawyer? It's like, damn, like some of this should just be like, let's just do it this way and make it work. Like, why does it feel like everything is you want to move left in America? You gotta pay a lawyer to move left. You want to move right. It's like, god damn, like why can't we just function as people? And I know I'm asking you that, but I'm curious to get your thoughts on that.
Um, I think because, and I don't think it's always been like that, but I do agree it's like that now. I think people abused it,
Mm,
right? They abuse the holes in the system. They found caveats that were beneficial to them, and I think over time that abuse mandated that things happen with policy, right? There's a healthcare director for a reason. Then the wife gets to make the decision for the husband, although they've been separated for 10 years and he got a whole girlfriend, right? And but the girlfriend can't say what he really wants, and the
mhm,
wife who don't like him gets to decide.
mhm.
That's where the lines get crossed, and that's why it's not just a mandatory your spouse gets to decide. You need a healthcare directive so you can tell people who gets to make the decision for you.
How old do you think someone should be looking to do that? We're talking about a 10-year-old, 5-year-old, 30-year-old. What, in your opinion, is that for all your kids, or what does that look like?
So
18,
18, they have to be an
18.
adult, number one, to appoint someone to be their guardian or their healthcare director. Before that, the parent is naturally the legal parent is the one that will make the decisions for the kid.
So at 18, every parent should do a healthcare directory just for across the country or just in some states?
This is just for Georgia.
Just for,
Every
okay, just
every
for,
parent who has a grown adult child who wants to be the decision maker, and the child wants that parent to be the decision maker for their health care,
right.
if something should happen, they need a healthcare directive.
How much is that? I like
Um,
to ask. I don't want people to be confused about, Henry,
the
you told me to do
healthcare
something that's $2,000.
the healthcare directive by itself for me is $400.
That's doable, right? For you're talking about in that moment, you can make decisions for them. That part of it is doable for me. Knowing what you know though about hospice, what else could you provide to families who are either on hospice, looking to go on hospice, end of life care, healthcare? What else do you provide for those types of people?
I do simple last will and testaments. I do healthcare directives. I do financial power of attorneys. You can get it in a package. You can get them a la carte, but that's about the extent of what I do for any healthcare estate plan and any of that.
Okay. But when it comes to that though, that is something that you're knowledgeable on and that you can actually help people and guide them through the process.
Yes.
And the main thing that you focus on is child divorce court, those types of custody hearings, things of that nature.
Yeah. So
Family law.
I do all family law. I don't do juvenile law. Very different beast. So I do divorces, legitimations, modifications of any court order that's related to custody, child support. I establish child support. I do adoptions. I do step parent adoptions, obviously, because I did my husband's for my daughter. But yeah, anything family law related in that realm.
What is the benefit? And I'm curious, right? What if you're married to him and you all are together, what is the benefit of having someone actually adopt someone?
It's the legal rights that are conferred on the adopted parent. They are basically the new legal parent. His name is on her birth certificate, so her birth father's name is not on the birth certificate. And my husband and I, we had got a divorce at one time after he adopted my daughter, which
This
means,
husband you're with now.
uh-huh, hmm
Okay. Okay.
which
I
means he
know. I'm just asking. I don't know. I wasn't.
okay. We had got divorced for a little time because he had lost his mind just temporarily. Um, And because he had already adopted her, he was on the hook. He had to pay me child support. He had a parenting plan. Now,
So
now, of course, that wasn't my jam. I didn't care about that because that's not why I wanted him to adopt her. He asked to adopt her. She wanted to be adopted because they had created their own bond. She carries his last name, and none of that other stuff mattered to me. But yeah, he lost his mind for a little bit. Hey, husband, love you, mean it.
and when he watches this, I didn't set that up for that to happen. I was more so just asking a question, man. Don't be mad at me. What's his name? Marcus? Is Marcus? Did I hear
Yeah,
that?
Marcus.
Okay, so yeah, don't be mad at me, Marcus. I had nothing to do with this. I am just asking. I do want to know from you before we let you go, advice for anybody, right? A lot of people now, we're getting married significantly later in life. And before we get married, obviously, we still want to have children. What advice do you have for I'm going to say it because no one else is willing to say it, for the dad who goes in, he's not married, he has a child. What are the steps that he needs to take day one or day three, or whatever it is from your perspective, to make it easier for you if they don't get together or stay together, if you will?
First things first, if a young man and a young woman become pregnant, be there, right? If you guys are in a relationship, go to the appointments, right? Do all the
Mhm.
things, be at the hospital when they give birth if you're allowed. Because if you're not married, they're not going to force the mother to let you in the room if you're not married. I just say be present, be in the relationship, but also set yourself up for if the relationship doesn't work, or you all never make it to the altar, like be a presence in your child's life. Do not just, and if there ever comes a time where it feels like you're being dictated to, or you can see your child on the third Sunday after next month, that's when you need to start taking legal action. And the best time to file a legitimation is when you guys are getting along, right? Everybody's more
Everywhere.
amenable to agree, reach a
Yeah.
resolution, do an uncontested legitimation, versus when you guys are at odds and now everybody wants to drag everybody in the dirt and put all your business out here for the people.
Yeah. And so I'm curious too, like when you do all this or you go through this process, is this stuff public knowledge like like other court cases? Like you can go find out what happened and what people said about each other? Is that public knowledge as well?
No. So the only thing that is public are the actual filings and whatever was filed into the case and the court orders that were issued in that case. The transcript typically is not filed, and that's the only way you would know what other people say, right?
Okay.
Now, a good transcript is some good tea, baby. You can sit down and read a transcript, sip on some tea, and have a good. I'm talking about have you a good time. I done read some transcripts, and I was like, well, my gosh, I wish I was at this hearing. Like the best time, it's like reading a book and knowing who the players are in real life. It is life changing. You got to try it one day.
No, trust me. Just trust me. I believe you. Like I
And the
believe you.
things people say, oh my gosh, it's even worse.
I believe you. I really want to get it from you. You gave us everything we need to know except for how do we find you? How do we contact you if we want to use you? Both children or adults and for whatever else they need.
Okay, so I'm not huge on social media. I'm really not.
You
So
weren't. You weren't. You weren't.
I am still am not. I don't know why everybody keep following me still. I done jumped from 200 followers to 2,000. I'm like, yeah, I don't post. I don't talk about nothing. But it's my website, right? My website, jroylawfirm.com. That's the best way to reach me. That's the best way to get my contact information. I am on Instagram as JRoy Law Firm, but like I said, I don't really post. I don't really I don't do anything. I'm just there.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on. And for all those who were watching, this is J. Roy Law Firm, and we brought her on because we were interested in mental health with children, with men, and how to deal with things as you come into hospice and all about healthcare and law and how they come together. So I want to thank you for having you. And we look forward to another conversation with you.
All right. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.